Negotiations on Capitol Hill. It's been a week of battle over how to implement the president's priorities and which priorities will survive the House and Senate. We're digging deep with our political analyst today. We're also asking questions of a local Congress member. Gainesville's Kat Cammack joining us. And while the Shipyards project has been debated in more than a dozen places in just a week, that's not the only important issue in Jacksonville. City Council's new vice president joining us on This Week in Jacksonville. And thank you for joining us today. Terrance Freeman is the at-large Group 1 City Councilman in Jacksonville. He's also just been installed as the Vice President for the term starting July 1st, and he's joining us this morning. Councilman, what a pleasure. And I love that we get to do this on the heels of Sam Newby becoming president, you're becoming Vice President. So this is historic. And not to put all the emphasis on how we look, but this is the first time two black men are in charge of city council. What's that mean to you?
It is historic for our city, as you've said. And, you know, I think it's important that, one, it is stated that we were elected based on the merit that we stood on. But a side note is the fact that there are young kids or college kids or young professionals right now that look like me that are saying, you know what, this is a reality. And so that excites me just as much, knowing that we are giving hope to those who are going to come behind us. Yeah,
it was a pleasure having Sam Newby with us last week and talking about that. And him saying, and by the way, elected because of our merits, not because of the color of our skin. And that's something our society certainly needs to be focused on. So let's talk about some other issues. I know you are passionate about literacy, facing the challenges in the city. So how does Read USA Inc. approach this? And I know something Duval County Public Schools are working on, other organizations involved with too, right?
Yes, Ken, and we partner with Duval County Schools and other strategic partners in making sure that we are fighting against this literacy issue that we're facing. 67% of kids in our state, when they complete third grade, they're reading below grade level. Here in Duval, 80% of that 67% are in our low-income communities, with 2/3 of them ending up in jail or on welfare. So this is a serious issue, and Read, we're tackling it with two programs, really. We get book fairs, where we're putting books in the hands of students that they choose, 3 of them. And then we also do a peer-to-peer tutoring, where we hire teens who are from these communities, who then tutor elementary students who are from the community, and both at the completion of a summer, a 5-week intensive literacy program, have reading gains. It's a powerful, powerful moment. It's exciting, and it's something that we're looking to grow.
Helping both ends of the spectrum there.
Yes,
I like
sir.
hearing that. So one of the things you say, hey, we're putting books in the hands of. All right, so some people are saying, hey, it's 2021. Are physical books really important anymore? You can get books online, on your device, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's overwhelming research that says that the printable materials, there's a value to it in the hands going into the hands of kids. I look at my own home. Every night my wife sits down at bedtime, and I join them occasionally, and we read to our daughters. And we're not the only families doing that. Yeah. It is just a proven fact that books in the hands of students with teachers are the best ways of fighting literacy. And that's where I would love to see the conversation continue to go.
Yeah. So let's shift topics a little bit here. Let's talk big picture, developing downtown. This is a big deal. This is something that Jacksonville kind of wrestles with a little bit here. Do you see it happening, this most recent proposal from the Jaguars and Sean Cotton's development company? I mean, they've been out on tour the past week. They've been doing town hall meetings. They're talking about what we're seeing right here, and they're trying to answer questions, get feedback from people in the region. Is this the right approach? Do you see this happening?
Well, yes, I would say I'm one of 19 that right now we are assessing the facts of listening to the proposed plans and the details coming out right now, and figuring out what's best for the best use of taxpayer dollars for our city. I can tell you the difference. Some of our most ardent supporters or in opposition of Lot J, they're in support and optimistic of the plans that have rolled out. But I think that what is important as well to share is Shad Khan. Mr. Khan has proven time and time again that he is all in on Jacksonville with the investments of the team and the most recent investments of $250,000 that's going to some areas. You got $1 million going to out east, the east side, historic east side. You got $5 million going to Mosh, and the sponsoring for the upkeep of Metro Park. He's committed to Jacksonville. He's committed to downtown, and I look forward to the plans getting to us and us getting to do our council work.
Well, it's interesting. So you mentioned Lot J. A year ago, there was another proposal, and that just didn't go as well, and there was a lot of pushback right at the beginning. It seems like the Jaguars being very intentional this time. Hey, we are starting with talk with the public, get their feedback. And that's what we've seen in, oh boy, there was more than a dozen of these town hall meetings in just a week.
Yes, the process is definitely different this time. As opposed to showing up with, here it is, hope you like it. It's more of, here's some ideas, tell us your thoughts. As they're going around to the community and they're meeting with the various council members. So it is a collective process of getting thoughts and ideas, and then hopefully then coming back with something that we as a body will support and the community will embrace and support as well.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about something. I sent you a study that I saw from Florida Department of Law Enforcement this week. It said for the 50th straight year, Florida's crime rate has gone down. Again, FDLE saying this. But this report says the state's overall crime rate down nearly 16% from 2019 to 2020. Duval County specifically, the crime rate went down almost 10%. JSO alone reporting a more than 9% drop. And then Jacksonville Beach Police saying crime down more than 12% there. In Atlantic and Neptune Beach, the police department saw increases in crime. We hear about this, but at the TV stations, at the paper, we're covering violent crime. We're seeing homicides seem to go up every year. How do we interpret this? How do you, as an elected member of City Council, view those kind of numbers?
Yeah, well, first I want to thank the men and women and the sheriff who put their lives on the line every day to keep us safe. What I would like to highlight is the fact that Florida, the numbers are going down. And in Jacksonville, the numbers are very optimistic. When compared to other large cities, when we look at the violent crimes and the murder rates, they're down. But in Jacksonville, we do have a lot of work to do. But I think we are taking the steps, the necessary steps, heading in the right direction when it comes to intervention, prevention first, intervention, and enforcement. And I'm really confident that we're going to continue to move the needle forward to make this city the safest city in the state and in the country.
I don't know if you have an answer to this, but I wonder if there's a connection from that first topic with the last topic. People who read, who are literate, is there a connection between that level of reading ability and the violent crime?
I believe this. I know when we look at our peer-to-peer tutoring program, those same teens that I'm telling you that are struggling reading, we're offering them a job in workforce skills. Without that opportunity, what would those kids be doing during the day? How would they fill their time? You know, we know that kids, they learn to read first up to 3rd grade and then they read to learn. So at some point, if they start with the strugglings of read to learn, the distractions become a little more accessible to them and in their opinions, maybe a better option. So the foundation is literacy.
Terrance Freeman, what a pleasure. Appreciate getting to see you, visit with you. Congratulations becoming Vice President of City Council.
Thank you, Ken. Always a pleasure to join you.
All right, thanks. So, coming up, we're hearing about a congressional caucus concerning free speech in colleges. Congresswoman Kat Cammack is next on This Week in Jacksonville. Stay with us.
Wendys only serves one kind of breakfast, a better one. So chuck your old soggy egg witch and pick up 2 of these freshly made sandwiches at Wendys for just $4. Choose wisely. Choose Wendys 2 for $4.
Have you tried the 4-in-1 power of Purcell Oxy Discs? They remove tough stains, deliver fiber care, freshness, and a deep clean. Try Purcell Oxy Discs.
The tailored comfort of Quilted Northern. When you return home to the comfort of your childhood bedroom, there's nothing else you'd rather see. No offense, Mr. Cuddles. Quilted Northern.
4 cup holders for all the water the internet told you to drink. Alexa for finding the nearest bathroom. Nearest bathroom. The 2021 Toyota Corolla. Right now, get 0% APR for 36 months on a new 2021 Toyota Corolla. Toyota, let's go places.
Great parties start by recycling the new Ball Aluminum Cup. In about 60 days, the recycled aluminum can return as part of other infinitely recyclable, lightweight yet sturdy cups. Bringing out the best in cold drinks and lifting up any get-together. So enjoy. Reuse just a few times if you like, and then recycle the new Ball aluminum cup because the party starts here. Find us in your store's disposable section and choose aluminum over plastic.
Recent studies have shown that too many leg and foot amputations are performed without a second opinion. If this has happened to you, call us. We'll review your case for free to see if your amputation could have been avoided. Farah and Farah.
Local stores loaded with those hard-to-find household essentials. Help families out and Snap It.
When your morning cup of coffee from your favorite cafe really hits the spot.
Planning a productive day with the Weather Authority app, maybe in the garden? Don't forget to Snap It.
Log in to news4jax.com and become a News4Jax insider for free. Then click Snapjacks and start uploading your photos today. Do it all and more with Snapjacks. Channel 4, the local station.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
Kat Cammack represents Clay, Putnam, Alachua, Bradford counties, among others. The first-term member of Congress joined me from her Washington, D.C. office. We spoke about three main topics, including the brand-new Congressional Campus Free Speech Caucus.
Campus Free Speech Caucus is really a long overdue effort to restore some sanity on our college campuses. You know, there are some college campuses that do a great job in really fostering an environment where free speech is respected and the diversity of opinions are admired. However, we have seen across the country really an assault on free speech and the First Amendment rights that our young college students don't really get the opportunity to express or enjoy. We have seen the liberal college professor narrative really be shoved down the throats of a lot of our college students. I myself am not too far removed from being an undergrad student myself, and I remember very vividly on my first day of my Latin American politics class as an undergraduate student, my professor told me that Republican white males were the reason for world conflict. And I knew then that that class was going to be a battle. And it was every experience that I had during my experience as an undergraduate, but then also hearing from several of my supporters, my interns, volunteers. And of course, we've heard these stories all across the country of students that have really been shut out, shouted down, marginalized, being forced to write papers with a liberal slant for fear that they fail the class. I've had interns who are registered Republicans who have been kicked out of class for their political views. We should encourage our college campuses to be places where free speech and a diversity of opinion is encouraged. But instead, what we have seen is really this notion that professors will teach their students what to think, not how to think. And that is really to the detriment of our society as a whole. So if we're going to produce individuals who are very critical in their thinking, they know how to really problem solve, we have to foster these environments on these campuses where they are able to do so and have a respectful debate where we can have those these differing opinions.
How does the caucus make an impact there? Clearly, you're not going to be on college campuses saying, hey, we'd like you to teach this way instead of that way.
Right. And that's not certainly what we're not trying to do. We're not trying to teach or say what college campuses should be teaching. What we're saying is that every single ideology should be respected on a college campus and debated in a healthy, respectful manner. Now, what we're doing with this caucus is, one, bringing awareness to colleagues who necessarily don't have colleges or universities in their district. For me, I am blessed to have the University of Florida as the heart of my district. And of course, UNF is one of our great universities. St. John's River State College is another one. Gateway College is nearby. We have a lot of higher institutions of learning in the state of Florida. So we want to make sure that we are opening that dialogue with administrators to protect the rights of those students who have been marginalized over the years.
I understand you toured Jacksport recently. What came out of that visit? Obviously, it is a huge part of the economy here in Northeast Florida.
Absolutely. Jacksport is really our crown jewel. We're so proud of it. I'm so proud to have so many of my constituents as employees there at the port. It is so critical for us. Not only is the largest roll-on, roll-off facility in the state, but it is the most Western western located port on the eastern seaboard, which is critical for trade and logistics and distribution of goods and services. In fact, as you guys are watching this right now, 90% of the things in your home or office have come through one of the Florida ports. So we have to do everything we can as legislators to ensure that we are facilitating that movement of goods and services through the ports. We want to make sure that we're opening up new markets overseas. 45% of the work and goods that come out and through the port are going out of the port. And it's just so exciting that we have a shining example of a project as big as the dredging that's happening at Jacksport that is not only ahead of schedule, but under budget. You don't hear that often, but this is a great example for us of how you can do these types of projects collaboratively at the federal, state, and local level, right?
Representative Cammack and I also talked about the infrastructure bill that President Biden wants to move ahead. From Cammack's perspective, the differences start with even defining the issue.
What we need to do now is actually have a conversation and agree upon what is infrastructure. I think Republicans and Democrats have wildly different definitions of what critical infrastructure is. For me, it's roads, it's bridges, it's broadband. It is the things that keep the trucks on time and moving and the trains going and the ships in and out. But for the left, they have some pretty radical ideas ranging from the climate citizen core to childcare to social justice programs. I think that there is a time and a place for those conversations to happen, but certainly not when our nation is looking to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. And when we have a price tag of over $2 trillion on this bill that we simply cannot afford, our children cannot afford, and our grandchildren can't even afford, we need to have a conversation about the nation's spending, because it doesn't matter how great infrastructure you have if you are indebted to other nations and you are in sequestration and your nation is in hyperinflation. That is not a good thing.
Cammack also told me that she's very excited about the GO Act, which focuses on the need for high-speed internet in every community. All right, so coming up, Democrats and Republicans facing off on some important issues that impact you, much of it centering around historic spending. Political analyst Rick Mullaney brings his perspective next on This Week in Jacksonville.
We see people who are victims of accidents every day. Retail and grocery stores, office and apartment complexes, they all have to keep their properties safe. If you've had an accident somewhere like this, give us a call. Harrell and Harrell, don't settle for less than you deserve.
It's your eye candy. It's your adrenaline rush. It's your turbocharged, adventure-ready lunch hour dirty little secret. The Hyundai Santa Fe. It's your journey. Own it. Now get 0.9% APR for 60 months or up to $1,000 cash back on the 2021 Santa Fe. Visit buyhyundai.com today.
Getting your air ducts thoroughly cleaned takes the trained professionals at Stanley Steemer using the most powerful equipment to get the most powerful results. Our equipment goes deep inside your ducts, removing years of dirt, pet hair, allergens, even dust mites. Unlike other air duct cleaning companies, Stanley Steemer cleans your entire system. Just look at how much dirt can be removed. Call today for a free inspection and save $50 on a cleaning.
Stanley Steemer gets your home cleaner.
I'm Lydia, and there's more to me than HIV. There's my career, my cause, and creating my dream home. I'm a work in progress. So much goes into who I am. HIV medicine is one part of it.
Tavato is for some adults who are starting HIV-1 treatment or replacing their current HIV-1 regimen. With just 2 medicines and 1 pill, Tavato is as effective as a 3-drug regimen to help you reach and stay undetectable. You can take Tavato any time of day, with food or without. Don't take Tavato if you're allergic to its ingredients or if you take dofetilide. Taking Tavato with dofetilide can cause serious or life-threatening side effects. Hepatitis B can become harder to treat while on Tavato. Don't stop Tavato without talking to your doctor, as your hepatitis B may worsen or become life-threatening. Serious or life-threatening side effects can occur, including allergic reactions, lactic acid buildup, and liver problems. If you have a rash and other symptoms of an allergic reaction, stop Tavato and get medical help right away. Tell your doctor if you have kidney or liver problems, or if you are, may be, or plan to be pregnant. Tavato may harm your unborn baby. Use effective birth control while on Tavato. Do not breastfeed while taking Tavato. Most common side effects are headache, nausea, diarrhea, trouble sleeping, tiredness, and anxiety.
So much goes into who I am and hope to be.
Ask your doctor if Tavato is right for you.
When a man with a lifelong injury was told by his first attorney that his insurance maxed out at $10,000, he wanted a second opinion. We found hidden in the fine print $450,000. He got every penny. Fair and Farah.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville on Channel 4.
Rick Mullaney is with us, the director of the Public Policy Institute at Jacksonville University, and our News for Jax political analyst. Rick, I was telling you, it felt like it'd been too long that we needed to get here and talk specifically about some of the things that are happening federally. And when we talk about infrastructure bills, you just heard some of my conversation with the Congresswoman there, Kat Cammack, but infrastructure bills, there are actually a few being proposed and a whole lot of money at stake here.
There is, Kent. And one thing to be clear about is that infrastructure is popular with the public. It's popular with Republicans, it's popular with Democrats, and so the question is, why can't we get a bill?
Sure.
And really, I do think you have three sort of competing lanes here. One is there is a bipartisan effort. It's about $1 trillion. It includes Republicans and Democrats. And as Kat Cammack talked about, you have a definition issue, which we can talk about in a second. That's one bill, a bipartisan lane. There is Joe Biden's bill, $2.3 trillion. About 30% of that is what you might call traditional infrastructure, roads, bridges, highways, broadband. About 2/3 of that, $1.6 trillion, let's just put it in the category of human infrastructure. It's not a physical capital improvement. And then there's a third bill. Recently, Bernie Sanders, the progressive wing, talking about a $6 trillion package. In the end, when you step back, there is agreement that there is a great need for an infrastructure bill and investment in roads and bridges and highways, but a challenge defining infrastructure and how do you pay for it.
This week we saw a different topic, but we saw an example where the Senate came together and said we can't do this in a bipartisan way, and so 50 senators voted one way, 50 senators voted the other, so the bill that they were talking about at the time didn't move on. Is there a bipartisan way that this infrastructure stuff can happen on Capitol Hill?
Well, let me distinguish this from that. That was a bill in H.R. 1 that was subject to a filibuster. Here there's an exception to the filibuster when it comes to budgetary matters, and that is reconciliation. And Joe Biden knows, and the Democrats know, that they can pursue this bipartisan effort, but in the end, they can always do it through reconciliation. And I actually think that's the most likely route this is going to go. And by reconciliation, what I'm talking about, that's one of two exceptions to the filibuster in which you only need 51 votes. One is budgetary matters like this, the other is judicial appointments. Here, there will be an effort for a bipartisan bill, but if it fails, you can expect that you're going to see a Democratic bill, the larger bill, probably on party lines through a reconciliation process.
And that means the 50+1 could be the Senate president, which is the vice president.
That's exactly what and by the way, it's already happened in Joe Biden's term. You saw that with the COVID $1.9 trillion package for COVID relief. That was passed through reconciliation. Reconciliation is how Donald Trump passed his tax cuts. It's also how Barack Obama did the Affordable Care Act. So it's been used in the past. I think highly likely you could very well see it again. Although there is a possibility for a bipartisan bill, still some challenges there, but that still is a possibility.
You know, we've talked in the past about the path that the country seems to be on because of federal spending. Where do we stand here? Because the spending started to go through the roof even a year ago because at the time President Trump was trying to address COVID concerns. We're still kind of in that, but almost $10 trillion we're talking about here over the last year plus.
Kent, when you step back from this, the level of spending during the Biden administration truly, and what's being proposed, is unlike any in the history of our country. That's the reality. Now, you can have a debate about whether you like the spending or not, but it is staggering. $1.9 trillion for the COVID relief, $2.3 trillion on the infrastructure bill, what's called the infrastructure bill, another $2 trillion on the Family Act that he's been talking about, over $6 trillion there. His proposed budget, which he outlined in May, was $6 trillion for the upcoming year. It'll rise to $8.2 trillion. The debt level will be unlike any we've seen in our history in real dollars compared to the economy, and the level of debt versus the economy will be greater than it was in World War II. So when you step back for the Biden years, certainly during the first 5 months of his presidency, one of the defining characteristics is the level of spending. And by the way, that's consequential. We can talk about that in terms of
Well, yeah, so, and that's what I was going to say. So I don't need you to be an economist. Most of us are not economists, but how does this impact us? It trickles down, or we feel it downstream in inflation and the cost of services and everything else, right?
Ken, it's very real. Larry Summers, the former president of Harvard, who was the Treasury Secretary for Bill Clinton, was the first to say, or one of the first economists to say, he was concerned that Joe Biden's approach on spending, particularly on the COVID package at the time, was inflationary. And the viewers don't need us to know to go look at housing prices, go look at food costs, go look at medical, go look at cars, everything. And finally, this past week, the Fed said, oh yes, more inflation than they thought, and oh yes, look for interest rates increases next year. But what's also a key, Kent, is the level of debt. And when that debt relative to the economy becomes really large, then you begin to jeopardize wealth creation, innovation, productivity. And the people most hurt by that and that decline are the very people that Joe Biden's trying to help. That is the working class. And so therefore, keep an eye on the spending level. It is unlike anything we've ever seen.
So wrap it up here. You're the director of the Public Policy Institute. What kind of policies can be created to say, yeah, we've dealt with this pandemic and we need to deal with not allowing inflation to get out of hand and all that kind of thing?
Well, by the way, it's unfair to put this all, let me say this about Joe Biden. He inherited a big debt. There's no question about that.
And a big problem.
And it was $27 trillion when he came to office, but look for it to be near $35 trillion at the very end of his first year. Staggering, staggering numbers. But I think part of the approach, Kent, is the spending has to take into account where we've been and where we're going, and the level of spending truly is historic. So therefore, an infrastructure bill in the traditional sense is doable, and you maybe have to be more selective on some of these other initiatives. And Joe Biden also wants to soften some of this effect through tax increases, soften in terms of debt. And he's got a number of areas. The corporate tax rate, he wants to increase it from 21% to 28%. It used to be at 35%. He wants to increase the capital gains rate, marginal rates, and of course a stepped up basis for death taxes, which is can be a complicated subject, but it's pretty significant. So in the end, from a public policy standpoint, watch the spending, but also look for the consequences in the economy.
Well, all of that can seem very complicated to a lot of us, but really it comes down to, can you afford to pay the rent and take the kids out for a Happy Meal, whatever it is. Rick, I appreciate talking through many of those issues. Lots more to go as we get through the summer. Thanks so much for joining us today. On our next show, it takes place on Independence Day. Until then, This Week in Jacksonville airs each Sunday morning at this time. I'm Kent Justice. Thanks for watching on air on Channel 4 and the CW17. And you can find other episodes online at news4jax.com.
See why every day more people are choosing News 4 Jax, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.